Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Here's something which might interest you.
Huh?
Have you seen this?
Oh, what is it?
My passport to the sewers of Paris.
Is that so? Did you see the snooker last night, Mr. O'Brien?
They haven't got a television, Michael.
I know that. Why is it, if you don't mind me asking?
If God had meant us to watch television, we'd all be like Doyle.
I take it no one wants to hear about my underground escapades.
I'd rather drink me own beer.
Right. Fair enough. Check this out.
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
It's not Red Nose Day again, is it?
I don't know. But this is part of a clown's costume.
I know that. Good God Almighty. What do you take me for?
Yeah, he knows. He just doesn't care, mate. Just why are you showing him these things? Anyway, let's show him this greasy tissue.
Does this tissue mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
What about this diamond?
Does this gem mean anything to you?
Sure. What a beauty. I bet you wish that was real, don't you?
Ah.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
No, sir.
Thanks. It was an empty carton which had once contained caustic soda. It was a calendar with a faded photograph of a prize-winning carp. The faucet creaked, coughed, and spewed out a stream of rusty-colored water. I held the towel under the faucet and soaked it with water.
I can't remember what I was doing. Ah, yes.
Hi, it's me again.
So I see. What now?
Did you happen to see a red sports car down on the road?
I caught a glimpse of a flash of red on the hill and heard the racket. Sure, it was an awful noise. A sports car, you say?
A Ferrari, to be exact.
A racing car? And what was it doing here? The poor
Racing.
fella must have been lost.
The driver of the Ferrari was involved in an accident.
Is that so?
Yeah, he knocked somebody down outside the bar.
What an idiot! How could a thing like that happen?
He was traveling too fast.
So fast, he ran right under the car?
I mean, the car was traveling too fast.
But you'd have thought the idiot could have heard it coming.
Maybe you know the guy who was hit by the Ferrari. His name is Sean Fitzgerald.
Oh, I know him all right. That's me nephew, the idiot responsible for the stacking of my hay cart. Was he killed by the car?
Oh no, but he has been abducted.
Well, that's a relief now.
What?
Aren't you going to look for your nephew?
What for? From what you say, it's too late.
Well, you could report the matter to the police.
Better
Yeah.
not. Besides, what could they do?
Well, they could mount a search.
They have only the one bicycle between them. In a question of superior acceleration, I put me money on the Ferrari.
Has a point. Do be having a point.
I think you ought to know exactly what Sean has gotten himself into.
I'm not sure I want to know.
But you're his uncle, his own flesh and blood.
You're right, but what can I do? If I'm not here to guard it, some idiot might try to climb the haystack.
I know,
What
right?
a moral dilemma. Stay here and guard this potentially lethal agricultural construction, or to go off in search of the prodigal nephew, the very man responsible for said hazard? It'll need some thinking about.
Why, there's no problem.
You're right. Why didn't I think of it before? We'll demolish the haystack.
No, you dumbass. Yep.
You don't have to demolish the haystack to go look for Sean. I'll stay here in your place and warn anyone who's silly enough to climb it.
Marvelous. I think I should start me inquiries in the bar.
He strode off in the direction of McDevitt's bar, leaving me to contemplate the stack of hay.
Hmm.
On the back of the cart was a crazily stacked tower of hay bales, leaning precariously against the castle wall.
Oh, here we go.
The stack of hay stopped, short of the top of the wall. Even if I stretched as far as I could, the wall was out of reach. What I needed was a slice or two of Alice's Wonderland.
Man, I remember getting stuck on this when I was a kid. The first time I played this for about an hour. I felt so clever when I did this.
I inserted the end of the lifting key in the mortarless crack and gave it a firm shove. It remained lodged in the wall, jutting out to form a step.
And away we go. Yep.
It was the fiercest, meanest-looking old goat I'd ever laid eyes upon. The top of a ladder rose out of the squarely dug hole.
Ooh.
It was a rusted piece of iron, maybe part of a plow or something.
Ooh. Can I fake him? Oh. God damn. How do you do this bit? What have we got? Those are... Got this. Got the tissue.
The goat's movements were restricted by a halter tied to a metal post.
I'll say. How do we do this bit? I'm sure it was just like I go over here or something and then like I quickly run over here. No? And quickly run.
Hey, Billy. The animal fixed on me with an evil glare. Behind the malice and resentment, there was a cool intelligence. How you doing, boy? I felt as threatened as I'd been by the assassin and his goons in Paris. Hey, Billy. The goat responded with a cool and penetrating stare. All right. Okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Where you going, Goaty? The rope by which the goat was tethered had become tangled on the old plowshare.
You stupid old goat. And, taunt the goat.
Hey, Billy. The goat responded with a cool and penetrating... Behind the altar was a carved panel decorated with animals, birds, and plants. There was a pattern of 5 holes arranged on the wall.
Oh.
They'd been drilled there deliberately.
Look at this. Ooh.
The sack contained a fine white powder. As I dipped my
mind if
fingers
I
into the
do?
soft white powder, I realized what it was.
Yeah?
Plaster of Paris.
Oh.
I'd used it in kindergarten to make casts of animal paw prints.
Okay.
I placed my fingers and thumb into the holes in the wall. Nothing happened. I tried in vain to move the panel. It was a statue which had fallen from its place on the wall, 5 fingers of stone projected from the back of the carving. The statue was too heavy to lift. It overbalanced into the sand. As I swung the stone upright, I noticed it had left a pattern of holes in the sand. It was a statue which had fallen from its place on the wall, 5 fingers of stone projected from the back of the carving.
Hmm.
I sprinkled the plaster on the sand until the holes were filled.
Now, this is the clever bit, you see.
I squeezed the towel as hard as I could, but it was barely damp.
There you go. Jeez. Yeah. Fucking kid.
Hey, McGuire.
What do you want to know?
Look at this fucking
Want a
gem,
closer look at the
lad.
gem, McGuire?
No, I don't. Jewels is for girls. You'd better hide that, mister. What if the pixie comes back? You'll be in trouble then.
I don't believe in pixies. Underneath that costume is a psychotic killer.
Smart.
Do you know what this white powder is?
No.
See you later, kid.
Okay, mister.
Thought you might say something like, yeah, my brother had some. What are you doing? You're supposed to be looking for your
Hello.
nephew.
Hello there. Let me introduce you to my pals.
We've already met. I want you to know you have my sympathy.
Oh, it's just terrible, awful.
It's the worst news I heard all day.
It's top the bad news all right for this week and the next.
The whole year.
It's worse than that. It's a worse disaster than living memory.
Isn't it the biggest calamity in the history of the village?
I would say it's the biggest in the history of Ireland.
The most awesome disaster since mankind paddled out of the primal plop.
There's no beer.
Jesus Christ, why not?
Is a glass of beer more important than a man's life?
Yes.
Were you talking to me?
To all of you. Sean Fitzgerald has met with God knows what, and all you can do is drink.
Sean has gone for a ride in a flash car, that's all. Why don't you calm down and join us?
I mean,
What about Sean? Why aren't you out looking for him?
There's no point in launching an ill-equipped expedition to save the lad. In a
True.
life-or-death situation, preparation is essential.
besides, if he gets away, he's probably going to
That's
come
why
back to this
snuck
pub.
in here.
Good point.
Best stay here in case he comes back.
I gotta go.
With the wet bandits. Yeah, leave taps on everywhere I go. Alright. Okay, now we gotta rush back.
I held the towel under the faucet and soaked it with water.
Sha. Sa. Come on, George, quicker, faster. Move it. No time to talk to Maguire. Get up. God damn.
I smoothed the plaster level with the sand. It was my first experience of home improvement.
Come on, be wet, be wet, be wet, be wet. Yeah.
The trickle of water was quickly absorbed by the plaster. I eased the solid piece of plaster from the sand. Underneath, it had formed a perfect copy of the statue. The hardened plaster cast fitted snugly into the 5 matching sockets. There was a soft thud, then silence.
How do you like that, kids? Bonne façon.
So, where did you stay last night?
At McDevitt's, I got to drinking with Doyle and a couple of the guys.
That explains why you look so ill today. Did you get any sleep at all?
Not much. I had to share the room with another guy.
Did he snore?
Hardly. He was dead. Then Leary woke me in the middle of the night to help bail out the cellar.
The cellar was flooded?
Yeah, some idiot had left the faucet running.
And you say Pegram has disappeared?
Without a trace. But my visit wasn't a complete waste of time.
Pegram's gem?
The Templar's gem. Whoever Jacques Marquet is, he's in for a disappointment.
Jacques Marquet?
He's the guy who should have collected the gem from Fitzgerald.
I've been reading about Pegram in this magazine.
Oh, yeah.
The media got its claws on him.
Yeah, if I was his agent, I'd get him to lose the pipe.
That dig must have been pretty important to him. He resigned his chair at Durham University to go to Ireland. And now he's disappeared. See what you can find out about Professor Pegram.
I'll speak to the university. What are your plans?
I want to find out who, what, or where Montfaucon was. All I've got to go by is the name and a picture of a hanged man. What do you know about Professor Pegram?
I've seen a television program, Pegram's Past. He's written a book, The Crusader Families of Ireland.
Let's take another look at the manuscript. There's a guy with a sword and a bull. Between them is a gem supported by a tripod. That's the gem that Pegram found in Lochmarn. That's the tripod in the Croon Museum.
Right. Put 2 and 2 together. Do you think those two go?
There's a woman looking at her reflection in a mirror, but the reflection has 3 hideous faces. There's a guy working on a loom.
Alright, looking on the loom, dude. It's a freaking loom, bro.
The Night Scroll bears a phrase in Latin. Through my teachings, you will be enlightened.
Okay.
Look, Nico, a handful of plaster.
Yeah. Why is it that men never really grow up?
What's your problem, sister?
Your pockets stuffed with useless junk like little boys.
You never know when useless junk might come in handy.
Right. Yeah, you're just jealous that you don't have pockets full of junk.
I can't sit here all day,
Or
much as I'd
pockets,
like to.
for that matter.
Okay. Don't forget to look for Lobineau at the Croon Museum. And why don't you see if Rosso has heard anything?
Okay. Anything else I can do for you while I'm out? Shopping, a trip to the laundromat?
Just take care of yourself.
Alright, Pilgrim's Gem. Alright, let's go talk to Professor Russell.
Excuse me.
What do you want now?
I'd like to report an assault.
Yes, monsieur? Where is the victim?
I'm the victim. I've been harassed by a pair of thugs.
I see. And where did this alleged assault take place?
Outside the Hotel Ubu. They stopped me as I was leaving and went through my pockets.
Could you describe the suspects, monsieur?
One looked like a gorilla, and the other looked like a weasel. Their names are Flap and Guido.
Bon. I'll get them this time.
Have you heard of a man called Marquet?
Yes. He used to be known as the Mole of Montmartre. I heard he's been hospitalized, probably by one of his rivals.
Which hospital was Marquet taken to?
The Hagenmeyer Clinic in the Avenue des Hérissons.
Why was Marquet known as the Mole of Montmartre?
Because he lived in Montmartre, I suppose.
Yeah, but why the mole?
I don't know. Maybe he ruined people's lawns.
I mean, yeah.
What are you going to do about Flap and Guido, Sergeant?
I'm going to bust them, monsieur. For years I have been hoping to pin something on that pair. Now's my chance. I'll show them. And the inspector.
Thanks, Sergeant. Thanks for taking me seriously.
I'm only doing my duty, monsieur.
Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Oui.
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur.
Oui. I do.
Stobart is here to see you, monsieur.
Hello, monsieur.
Did he say what it was about?
No, monsieur.
Very well. What now, monsieur?
Ever heard of a guy called Marquet? Jacques Marquet?
Marquet. I know the name well. He has a record for suspected blackmail, kidnapping, arson, and art theft.
An all-rounder, huh? How come he's on the loose?
His bravado is matched only by the courtroom skills of his attorney.
Have you heard of Professor Pegram, the archaeologist?
Molly Pegram, the second son of Lord Barclay Pegram.
I don't know. I only read about him in a magazine.
So much for the efficacy of rehabilitation. What has he done this time?
He made an important archaeological find in Ireland. Do you know Pegram well?
I have connections with the family, but I wouldn't say I knew him at all.
Is his name really Molly?
Of course not. That was the nickname he was given at school. All his friends and acquaintances know him as Molly.
Do you know a pair of thugs called Flap and Guido?
I have known those two since they graduated from special school. Flap is a nasty piece of work. But Guido is the real brains of the partnership. Where did you hear of them?
I met them out front of the Hotel Ubu. Did I show you this photograph?
Oui? You're still convinced he is the killer?
Absolutely. What do you make of this, Inspector?
Astounding. Where did you come by a stone like that?
I was given it by a man in a bar in Ireland. Do you recognize the gem?
It is unfamiliar to me. If such a jewel had been stolen, I would know it for sure.
Okay. Okay. What about this powder in my pocket?
What do you make of this white powder, Rosso?
It is plaster.
Say, you're good.
All right. And what about this?
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
No, monsieur. I suggest you ask Sergeant Moo about that. God only knows why, but he collects matchbooks. He claims it is a hobby.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, monsieur, nothing.
It's another one of the assumed names used by the killer.
Ah, the famous killer clown case.
Yeah. You might have forgotten all about it, but I still aim to find that guy. So long, Inspector.
Where to go? Museum Crow, Hospital. Yeah, I guess we'll go to the hospital, museum.
Access to the side and rear of the museum building was blocked by a dense clump of bushes.
Okay. Let's see here. A display case.
The case contains some fragments of pottery. They looked to me like broken flower pots. Above them, a sign read, L'Age Paléolithique. It was a tapestry of a lady, a lion, and a unicorn. If I'd had more time, I could have stared at it all day. It was a thin-faced, pallid guy with a questionable taste in outlandish clothes. My mother used to dress like that. I beg your pardon. Are you André Lobineau?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No. I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobart. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay. Shoot.
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sure. It was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
Lochmarn? That's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived. Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
The second week of July?
Maybe. Yes, it was, just before Bastille Day.
So Pegram was in Paris at the same time as the other victims.
Pardon? Victims of what?
Nothing. Just thinking aloud. Where was the site of Montfaucon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
What can you tell me about Philippe le Bel?
He was responsible for the extermination of the Knights Templar.
I know that, but why was Philip so hot to get rid of them?
Mostly because he wanted to get his hands on their treasure. He had an enormous debt and a lifelong war with England to fund. The trouble was, the Templars were a highly respected holy order.
If the Templars were so powerful, how did this Philippe dude wipe them out?
By underhanded, dishonorable means, of course. The Pope was Clement V, a Frenchman.
French, huh? Handy for Philippe.
Fate had nothing to do with it. He was Philippe's puppet, planted to further his political ambitions. Philippe wanted the wealth of the Templars and used Clement to get it.
So what was Philippe's plan? What happened?
Sealed orders were sent out all over France, not to be opened until the appointed day. That day was Friday, July 13th. That's the origin of our superstition regarding that date. At dawn, throughout the whole of France, the Templars were arrested. It was the biggest bust in the history of the world.
What happened to the Templars after their arrest?
Philippe was out for blood, so he handed the Templars over to the Inquisition. Not surprisingly, they confessed to a sensational and sordid list of blasphemies.
Like what?
Oh, the sort of things you read about in the gutter press. Devil worship, lewd sexual practices, spitting on the Holy Cross, that kind of thing.
Well, that must have given their lawyers some headaches.
Whether or not the accusations were true, this was not good publicity. Most of the charges were probably cooked up, but so were the Templars, literally. Hundreds of them were found guilty of heresy and flame-grilled at the stake. They died protesting their innocence.
But
Okay.
surely Philippe had no proof of his charges against the Templars.
A man will admit anything under torture. The Inquisition fabricated some nonsensical demon called Baphomet, and then suggested to the victims that this was what they worshipped.
But they didn't have to agree.
The records show a Templar coming to trial with both feet burnt off. Fragments of flesh and charred bone falling from the stumps. What would you not admit to stop such torment?
So there was no truth at all in the Baphomet accusations?
Not a shred. Almost every victim described the idol differently. No, Baphomet never existed outside the sick minds of the Inquisitors.
Okay.
So Philippe stole the Templars' riches, huh?
Oh no, they weren't stupid. The king's troops marched first on the temple in Paris, then to the Templar home port at La Rochelle. There was no trace of the treasure, and the fleet of the Knights Templar had set sail.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much, only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
What does two men riding on a horse signify to you? Ha. Gay or poor? No. Templar. Alright.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, Andre.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah, not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. Maybe it was my imagination, but I noticed a predatory look in his eye. Suddenly, this friendly historian had turned into the big bad wolf. This friend who has the manuscript,
Oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
she lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Yeah.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Good. Okay, so he's doing that. What to do now? We could check out Montfaucon, the hospital where that guy is. I guess there's no need to go to Ireland anymore. Okay, let's go to the hospital, I guess.
The old building managed to retain some of its original grandeur, but the modern additions look like a baseball cap on a statue of a medieval saint.
Yep. This is nice.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plants. They were my idea. A little greenery to evoke the spirit of nature. How may I help you?
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children. Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
I'm here to see Jacques Marquet.
Oh, yes. Are you related to our client, sir?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm his, long-lost brother.
A brother half his age with a different name and an American accent.
Yep.
Yeah, people always say that. I blame Mom. We were separated at an early age. After a mix-up in the nursery at the Oakland shopping mall.
I've never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life.
I guess not. Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from a zoo.
So, do I get to see Marquet before the funeral?
That attitude will get you nowhere. My instructions were quite clear. No one gets to see Marquet. So unless you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance, you're wasting your time here.
Can you think of any use for this greasy tissue?
I guess you could use it to baste a roast turkey.
Can you think of any use for this greasy tissue?
Oops.
I guess.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Bish?
Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Why are you so far away?
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Call me George if you like.
Come back.
Sure?
Yeah, that's my name.
My name's Benoit, but everyone calls me Bunny.
Bunny.
That's right. I used to have this cute habit when I was a kid.
Keep it to yourself, Benoit.
Yeah, we don't want to know that.
Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
And no, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
Do you know what this white powder is?
No, sir.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Is that a nasal discharge, sir?
No, it's grease paint.
Yeah, come on.
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
Shake my hand, Benoit.
I don't think that's a good idea, sir.
How come?
Dermatitis.
I don't have dermatitis.
I do.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
Not me, sir?
Have you ever heard of a guy named Merlin?
No, sir.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Isn't that used to snap the patient's ribs when exploring the abdomen?
I hope not. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No, sir.
All right.
See you later.
Right.
The young man's face was full of eagerness and enthusiasm. I figured he was fresh from college. The guy seemed to be practicing his air of authority. Today, he was working on his withering stare. Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Really? If you wish to make an appointment, see the receptionist.
I'm looking for a guy named Jacques Marquet.
In which department does he work?
He doesn't. He's a patient.
I see. You do realize there are strict policies regarding visiting hours, don't you?
Agree.
This is important. I have to talk to Marquet urgently.
We make no exceptions to the rules.
It's a matter of life and death.
The well-oiled running of this hospital is a matter of life and death.
I mean, he has a point.
Why we have rules.
Go
I
on.
think I ought to warn you that Marquet is not what he seems.
Explain yourself.
He's in league with a bunch of guys who want to take over the world.
Nonsense. Besides, Marquet's employers have paid in advance for one of our most exclusive private rooms.
Could you tell me who Marquet's employers are?
Certainly not.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir, I do not.
May I have the honor of shaking you by the hand?
You may not. I don't encourage physical contact between my staff.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, it does not.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
No, sir, I have not.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
Sacre bleu! That's exactly what I needed in my last operation.
It is?
I had to improvise with a knitting needle and a couple of corks. If only you'd been on hand at the time. My patient would have given his right arm for it.
What do you make of this tissue, sir?
Intéressant. I thought I knew the ins and outs of the human body, but this has me beat. If I were you, I'd have this sample analyzed.
I like this guy.
Did I show you this tissue?
Oh.
Yes.
Thanks for your help. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Look at this ID pass.
So
Yeah.
you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here. Now, let me see. He was on Ward B12, as I recall.
All right.
Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on Ward J2. That's... Nurse Grendel's ward.
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything, I mean everything, is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock, alarm falls. 6:10, bowel movements, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
Oh, you mean she's been here a long time?
No, I mean there's not a man in this clinic who hasn't sprawled out on her.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J. How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Fair left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
All right, great.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Doop-a-doop-a-doo, doop-a-doo, doop-a-doo-doo-doo.
As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow.
Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the quarters?
No, sir, I haven't. But I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Good God.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years, and he's never let me down once.
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you?
No,
I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind my back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull through.
Whatever you've got with this metal mopfoot is probably a fine and noble thing.
It is? Say, it's not every day I meet someone as crazy as me.
All right.
Do you know a nurse called Grendel?
Sure I do.
Is she on duty today?
Yeah, end of the corridor, Ward J2.
What does this tissue suggest to you?
You have a cold. What you need is vitamin C and a side order of machine oil.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
You should never ever play with matches.
I know that, but...
People get hurt when they do.
Okay, this is my
Sure.
favourite character
End
so
up in
far.
hospital like the burger lady.
Yep.
She was so burned up they didn't know whether to use bandages or onions.
Oh, I like him.
Take a look at this red nose.
Are you a policeman?
No, this is a clown's nose, not a policeman's.
Gonna fool me.
Would this tool be any use to you?
No, sir. Mr. Shiny has no user serviceable parts. Whatever that means.
What do you think of this, Sam?
Oh, boy. What is it?
A priceless gemstone, found in a medieval castle in Ireland. Get me into Marquet's ward, and it's yours.
I don't wear jewellery.
If this gem was yours, you'd be able to buy 100 Mr. Shinies.
Don't be silly. There's only one Mr. Shiny.
Stupid.
Do you recognize this pass?
No, I don't. Should I?
No, but I wondered if you'd seen a stranger flashing it about.
No, sir. But if I had, Mr. Shiny would take care of him.
Do you recognize this powder?
Is that dandruff?
No way.
It sure looks like dandruff.
It's plaster.
Ugh.
Would you like to shake my hand?
Not until I've washed, if you don't mind, sir. You can pick up all kinds of things in a hospital.
Like nurses, right?
No, sir. Bugs and germs. And fungal infections.
Alright. We're showing him everything.
See you later.
Yeah? Take care now.
Maybe the face of the unaccountably happy domestic had made me unduly suspicious. I mean, I knew it was only my imagination, but the water tasted, well, peculiar. It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. In my mind, he looked just plain constipated. There was no way I could improve on the sculpture with the janitor watching me. I guess the water cooler was for the use of people lost in the corridors.
Oh, sweet.
As I
sweet
tugged the
silence.
plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Give me that control back. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Give me the control back. There we go. Alright, Dr. Stobart.
Dr. Stobart at your service.
Hello.
Oh, hi! No whistling, right?
Right. Nothing really. Excuse me, sir.
You must be the new boy.
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bernie, come here, boy. This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him?
Do your own babysitting, Gramps. Who do you think you are, anyhow?
I am Felix Hagenmeyer.
And may I say what an honor it is to meet you in person, sir. You are on my medical wall of fame. Right up there with Pasteur and Leary. I look on it as a privilege, no, an honor, to look after your nephew, sir.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see some real suffering.
So long, Hagenmeyer. Hey, Benoit.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, miss. This is my first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean to get my hands dirty with the nails.
Shut up, Benoit.
Okay, sir.
Benoit.
Follow me, Benoit.
I'm right behind you, sir.
Benoit, what do you think about, I don't know, family? Are you a family man, Benoit? Sweet release.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, Doctor.
Thank you, nurse. Well, who's first?
Monsieur Croquet in bed 2.
What's his problem?
He's been complaining of loss of consciousness. You'll need this, Doctor.
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks. Hi, I'm Dr. Stobart.
Hello, Doctor.
The nurse told me you keep losing consciousness.
That's right. I've had the problem as long as I can remember. It's a real out-of-body experience. Like death, but not so conclusive.
I see. How long does it last?
Just a fraction of a second, then I recover.
I might not have been a doctor, but I was formulating a diagnosis all the same. This guy was nuts. I know exactly what you mean. It's known in the medical field as blinking.
Is it serious?
Of course it isn't serious. It's perfectly natural.
But just think, 2 seconds every minute. Why, that's almost half an hour every day. 2 weeks out of every year spent in total darkness.
I don't have time to listen to this baloney. Do you know what this piece of equipment is called?
No, I don't.
Which bed is Marquet in?
He's round the corner, in solitary.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know, but the men who brought him in were wearing masks and rubber gloves. Hey, you're a doctor. How come you don't know?
We doctors don't know everything.
Then how come you act like you do?
Has Marquet had any visitors?
Nah, neither have I. That's the worst thing about being in hospital. You feel like the rest of the world has abandoned you.
Well, you know how it is. Life goes on.
Thanks for those comforting words.
Yep. Hey.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Nah, I don't.
Do you know what this tool is used for?
Eye surgery.
Yep.
That's a dumb thing to say. It's not sharp enough.
It's true. That's true.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
Nah, I haven't.
Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor.
Have you any idea what this is?
Please, take it away before I throw up.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Nah, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
One of your colleagues?
No, he really is a murderer.
I've never seen him before.
Do you know what this is?
Is it self-raising flour?
No. I thought about giving him an electric shock, but I just couldn't do that to a sick guy.
Ah, man.
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir?
Here, take this pressure gauge.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something. Follow me, Benoit.
I'm right behind you, sir.
Hello? Anybody home?
Who are you?
My name is Dr. Stobart, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
Squatter.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
See you later. Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir.
Forget it.
Doctor,
What is it?
you haven't taken my blood pressure.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later. Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready with that pressure gauge?
Primed and ready to pump, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Stobart.
Bonjour, docteur.
Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, doc.
Hello again.
Bonjour.
Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How was the bear acting suspiciously?
Well, he was wearing a homburg.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
Don't you think it's possible that the bear was a man in disguise?
Well, obviously, I'm not completely stupid. But who would go to the bother of disguising himself as a bear? It's not as if he'd blend in with the surroundings. I checked with base to see if any bears had been reported missing from the zoo or a traveling circus. They told me to sit tight until reinforcements arrive. I guess they're right. I'd be stupid to tackle a bear single-handed.
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine, Doc, right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
I wouldn't go in there if I was you. He has anthrax.
I have to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat
Suits you. Thanks. Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, Doc. If you see that bear, kick him in the nuts.
Yeah.
Rather you than me, pal.
On the top of the chart was his name, Jacques Marquet. I didn't need to be a doctor to read the graphs. Marquet was dying. Marquet was either peacefully sleeping or placidly dead. Rousing him in the latter case would take a miracle. Marquet's slim hold on life was being measured, monitored, and maintained by the machinery on the rack. The bottles were full of liquid, with a little trail of bubbles rising to the surface. I figured Marquet's life depended on those bottles, so I decided not to disturb them. Marquet?
Yes. I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lamar gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassins.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grandmaster quickly. Tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
You have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them?
We've met. What about the Hashashin?
He's more likely to have followed Klausner. He'll stop at nothing to prevent the reforging of the sword.
And that's bad, is it?
As for Klausner, he has gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location of the...
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. Herr Hagenmeier was to hear that.
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
There you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter. The door's locked. Help me, officer.
Stand back, monsieur.
Oh, that's a noise. That is a noise. Yep, we get it. He's dead. Jesus.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Whew.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window. Have you found out any more about the Knights Templar?
Yes, I have. The guy responsible for their downfall was Philippe IV, the King of France, otherwise known as Philippe le Bel.
I've heard of him.
And-
I saw some coins from his realm at the Musée Crune.
Well, he is known to history as Philippe the Fair, but I doubt if the Templars called him that. I'm sure André will tell you all about him.
Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves. Have you ever heard of the Hashiashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again. I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one, Rosso or Sergeant Mou? Oh, were you referring to André?
I'll let you work it out. Excuse me.
What do you want now?
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin, Sergeant?
What was that?
The cult of the assassins.
What are you trying to say, Stobart?
That the clown is a member of that cult.
I see. And what proofs do you have?
Proof? I arrived at my conclusion through logical deduction and...
Pseudo-intellectual people. Leave the investigation of crime to those who know best. The police.
Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. It's Stobart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo. What now, monsieur?
Have you heard of the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers. But of course, monsieur, their fame is widespread throughout France. We haven't forgotten them, unlike the rest of Europe.
It was the King of France who persecuted them, though.
Indeed.
That shook his cool. Underneath his cultured facade, the man was real twitchy.
You're obviously a great admirer of the Knights Templar.
They were men of great honor, monsieur. The flower of chivalry.
Not everyone would share your views, Inspector.
Not everyone shares my passion for Bartok.
But if the Templars were as honorable as...
That's enough. I do not wish to hear your uninformed opinions, Stobbard.
Why do you get so wound up about the Knights Templar? They've been dead for centuries.
I shouldn't have pushed my luck. Maybe his ancestors were Templars. Whatever. I saw the anger flare in his eyes like a distant summer thunderstorm.
The Templars were the first true internationalists. 800 years on, and still the world is fragmented by nationalistic flag-waving fools. You will excuse me.
Might as well go have a look at Montfaucon, why not?
An architectural echo of the gallows that once used to stand here. Fixed to the wall was a sign in 3 languages. In French, English, and German it read, "In 1312, Pope Clement V dissolved the Knightly Order of the Templars and excommunicated its members on charges of heresy. In the following 2 years, many of the knights were hanged on this site. Their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burnt at the stake on an island in the Seine." I once read a list of low-stress jobs. It didn't include police work. Obviously, this guy hadn't read the same list. A typically Parisian sidewalk cafe. Last time I visited one of those, it blew up. I decided I was happy enough right where I was. Excuse me, officer.
And how may I help you?
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers. Only that they were excommunicated in 1312 and hanged in their dozens within this very square.
Boy, what they teach in the police academy these days.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
A row of old pews, beautifully carved and glowing with polish. I thought of all the people who must have sat here over the decades. All those Parisian derrieres, firm buttocks of the young ladies, the flabby flesh of the old men. That wasn't a pleasing image, so I went back to the young ladies. Whoa!
Dude! You gotta calm down.
A knight's tomb, his effigy in marble lying in perpetual state. A knight there in the company of his fellows. The second stone knight in a row of 4 lay on the church floor. A statue of a knight holding a staff and a scroll. A huge stained glass window formed a magnificent centerpiece for its neighbors. A stone knight lay in full stone armor, blank eyes looking at the ceiling. A stone knight lay at the end of a row of 4. A scroll was a symbol of scholarship. I knew that much. Per disciplinum meum lux videvis. A bit of a stained glass window. Wow! Hoping for a big insight while squinting through a hunk of statuary had been pretty optimistic, I guess. Well, I could have just taken the end off the staff, but I wanted to be sure what I'd be getting out of vandalizing a church, other than deported. I was surprised Philip le Bel had left this place alone.
Alright. I think I'm gonna pause it here and do something else. Alright. Have a good night. Goodbye.